Welcome to our Made for More podcast. You're here for our Let's Talk series. This is where we get in a lot of different people and hear about their journeys and what it's been like for them with mental ill health. We're going to cover topics such as anorexia, depression, self-image, and OCD. Please be advised that in these topics, they could be sensitive to some people and could be triggering. If this is you, feel free to skip to the next podcast. We have lots of resources on our support page for you, and we have linked below specific organisations where you can go if you need extra support. Hi everyone, and welcome to our second episode with Amber. If you haven't heard last week's episode, please go back and listen. Amber shared her incredible story with how her anorexia actually started to form within her life, that she remembered a time that she didn't have an eating disorder, and actually it was the whole thing of comparison from an issue that happened in P7, and then a lot of different scenarios kind of built up within her. And she ended up just kind of telling us that actually anorexia is a liar. Eating disorders lie to us. And we brought her back, take two. She's just going to continue a little bit on her story as I just think it's so powerful and super, super helpful. And the way she communicates, it's incredible. So if you haven't heard part one, please go back and listen to it. But Amber, do you want to fill us in and take us kind of where you want us to go with your story?
Yeah, so hello again.
Hello, Amber. Welcome.
Back.
Welcome again.
So yeah, I think I'd kind of left off about how I was talking about something that I've really learned is that, again, anorexia is a liar.
Yeah.
And journeying through my recovery, I think my life had got to such a low point. You know, I'm not going to go into the details because it's really sad, and two, it could take forever. But basically, the anorexia had lied to me so much to the point where everything that I was being told from other people. So when I was in the mix of like really bad negative thoughts and just this negative cycle, and my health was beginning to be compromised, you know, people around me were telling me like, you're enough. Yeah. You have so much worth, which I know. And I knew that Amber, I was still there. Yeah. Like Amber wasn't gone. The eating disorder had just completely clouded over any part of her. Yeah. And I was still there and I knew that. But it was the eating disorder was so strong that it was like almost like something was covering me, and my thoughts and my brain and my eyes, like everything that I saw, that I heard, that I thought was completely distorted because I had this cover, which was anorexia. Wow. And the journey of recovery was just slowly releasing that and pulling back that cover so that Amber could come back out again. But
that's such a powerful image. That really is.
But yeah, so as I was saying, like, the eating disorder distorted any form of truth. So I was being told all of these great things, which I knew were true. But the eating disorder found a way of making it into a lie. And that's something I think you have to really realize. And even now, you know, I really struggle when someone tells me something positive. You know, if I do something and I do it well and I know that I've done it well, I will hear something from somebody and they'll praise me for it, for example. And I will say thank you in the moment and then go home. And all of those negative thoughts will come in thinking, what are you doing? Like, that wasn't good. Come on, who do you think you are? And it's actually in the moment being like, whoa.
Catching it. Yeah,
catching that lie and realizing, okay, this is not good. This is not a good thought, and throwing that away.
Absolutely.
And that to get to that point, I wish I could tell you that took me straight away. It was not one of those like overnight changes. That took years. Now, for some people, recovery, it could take you 6 months. It could take you, though the change is so relevant to you. So don't judge your recovery process and how quickly you move forward against anybody else's. For me, it took 5 years. It took 5 years to get to the point where I'm right now, where I can see that and say that. Yeah.
And the fight in you
exactly
to have achieved that, like the fight in you to get to where you are now is just nearly from like hearing your story before and talking to you, it was like this anger towards anorexia rose up in you.
Yeah.
And you're like, you are a complete fighter.
Yeah.
And it was like something in you just said, I'm not standing for this anymore.
Exactly.
Not that it was smooth sailing. You fought incredibly
Yeah.
hard. It's not just, I'm going to decide to get better and you get better. Absolutely not. You fought so hard, but you did fight, and it took a lot of work.
Yeah. And I think it's realizing, like I said, the anorexia, it is not you. It does not have to be a part of you. Yes, it's part of your story.
Yeah.
And it's something that you have to deal with, but it is not you. You're still a person. You are still whatever your name is. I was still Amber. And I think it's one, realizing that yourself. When you realize that, you think, whoa, okay, Amber once lived without an eating disorder.
Yeah.
So she can live again. And I think
That's
realizing that, like, I remember the time where that decision was made. I had just been told that I had like a very short time left. And to be told that as a child at 12 years old is horrific. To sit and watch my mum and dad in the room with me crying because they're about to lose their wee girl. Like, that's horrific. But they couldn't make that decision for me. Like, I had to, in that moment, be like, right, Amber, come on.
Yeah.
You're still there. Why are you letting this beat you?
Yeah.
And from that moment on, that's when I decided, look, you're going to fight for this and you're going to get out of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, it took time, it took effort. There's no point me lying about it. But from that, there is so much goodness that I have seen come from that. Like, I'm here doing this. Like, if you had told me right back at the start of my recovery journey that you would be speaking about how you're at the other end of it.
Yeah. Well,
like, I wouldn't have believed
it was just
you.
like a marathon. Like, it was something that,
awful.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a straight road. It was up and down and up and down. That's okay. Like, that's how you learn.
Totally.
And I learned through that all the coping mechanisms that I have to deal with now as well. Like, I live in freedom. Like, I experience that, and I know that. And trust me, I know what it's like to not live in freedom. Every person that maybe is listening to this, I know exactly how you feel. I understand. And no one will fully understand it unless you've been through it.
Yeah,
and that was something I really struggled with. But like I said, you know, you have to realize that you have to make these choices for yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to actually realize that you can live without it again. But there's just a couple of things you need to do first.
Yeah. Like, you weren't born with it. Like, Amber, before that scenario in P7, going into first year, that other scenario, all the things that kind of built up to it, P6 and before, you didn't have an eating disorder. So Amber actually can exist without this. And all of the other patterns, they're like learned behaviors, or they're learned thought patterns that you do that are negative. So actually, it was the reframing. But you have said really well, and I just want to, as we kind of finish, just to talk about, you know, you decided, so you said it took 5 years.
Yeah.
So now do you live every day? You don't even think about having an eating disorder. It never crops up for you. Anorexia, distant memory. What does it look like now on the day to day, just for people who maybe are in your position and they're like, oh, well, I'm not free from this. You know, I felt like I got better 6 years ago, but it's something that kind of is recurrent for me. What would you say to people like that? What would you say if people are kind of still, well, what does yours look like?
So for me, I will 100% say that I don't have an eating disorder. I don't suffer with anorexia.
Yeah.
Does that mean I don't struggle with body image? Does that mean I don't struggle with food sometimes? No, it doesn't. I do definitely have your days. You know, we're human. Like, I'm never going to have rosy red days every single day. And if you do, please hit me up, because I would love to know.
Hit me up too, because
I would love to know how you do that. But it's actually realizing that I think it was you said this, like, on an Instagram post not that long ago, like, you're in control of your thoughts. Like, you can make the decision about what you think about and what you fill your head with. So for me, you know, if I wake up and I'm really stressed, like, there's times where I'm really stressed, and that's a natural part of human life. You know, there's going to be times where you feel like you're not in control of situations, like the pandemic. Oh my goodness. Like, that was really hard, like really hard for me. And it was waking up every day and making that decision, like, okay, I feel really bad about myself today. I don't like how I look in the mirror. I don't feel good in myself. I could so easily be like, oh, I know what to do. I've done this before. But like, do I want to go back to that, living that life in like chained to those eating disorder habits, those eating disorder thoughts? No, I do not, because I would not, the life of freedom that I have now, I would not trade it for anything, no matter how that would make me look or feel in that moment. Yeah. And it's actually training your head to say no, like realizing that you have the authority to say no to those thoughts, those negative thoughts. So one, I would say that. And two, I think it's just being so mindful of what you fill your head and your mind with. You know, if you're sitting around a conversation where they're talking about diets, you're sitting around a conversation table where they're talking about cutting things out or hot girl summer, like things like that, like just get up and leave. That's okay. Like
it's not a healthy environment for you to be in.
And if your friends love you and love you fully and truthfully and authentically, they will respect that. Like I have been in conversations where I've actually said, this is not good for me. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to go. Like by all means, carry your conversation on. And that's okay. Like you don't need to be made feel stupid for that, because I don't want to go back to where I was. So things like that, and social media. Oh, you could do a whole series on that.
You could.
Social media detoxes for one day, for 1 week, for 1 hour.
Or forever, if that's what you need.
Exactly.
I think from what I'm hearing from you, it's identifying where you're at in any given day. So when you have something stressful like a pandemic come in, you know, there might be some days that it's not at the forefront of your memory. However, as pandemic comes in and you know yourself, you know, actually this could be a time where I slip back into habits that I've had before. So you're like every morning, you're like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to let this control me. And then it's also knowing yourself in conversations you can and you can't be in. You know, knowing things like, well, we all struggle with things. So actually realizing yourself and being honest with yourself and being like, do you know what? I can't sit in this conversation, and why should I sit in this conversation?
Exactly.
So it's actually just saying, and I think it's as well being open with our friends, just as you said, and just saying like, can we change the conversation? Because when people, as you noted before, if they haven't been in it, you don't know, and people don't know what they don't know. So you have to be open and honest and just say, guys, like, this could actually trigger me quite badly. Like, we need to move this conversation. But I just want to say thank you so much, Amber. Honestly, like, absolute gold that you shared with us, and just being really open and really vulnerable. And Amber's heart is really that she has been through so much. Her and her whole family have been through so much. Her sister has even shared on our support page about what it would be, what it's like walking through with a sibling with an eating disorder, what's it like in the family. So your whole family just kind of rise up with this and just share and just help anyone else who might be going through it. So if that is you, hopefully you've learned something from Amber's story. Hopefully you've got a little bit of hope from Amber's story. That's what we want from this series, is that people get help and get hope. So if you're here and you are struggling, please reach out. We're going to put some notes up for support pages. We're going to put things up that can help you. So I just want to say thank you so much, Amber. Honestly, thank you. So thank you, guys. Thanks for tuning in to our Made for More podcast on our Let's Talk series. We hope you enjoyed today, and we hope you got a lot out of it. Please let us know what you think. We love hearing from you. Just a reminder that this is not a medical podcast. So if you're struggling with mental ill health, please contact your GP or use one of our links below for extra support.